So South was fun. Russian National Guard, better known as Rosguardia or simply Rusguard, is one of the less commonly portrayed branches when it comes to impressions and kit builds. That said, it's also one of the most recognizable thanks to iconic gear like the ZSH series, the Rise T, and the Baggery. They've long had what the kids would call immaculate drip, especially during the 1990s and the early 2010s. But today, we'll be focusing strictly on the post-2022 period. So, let's begin with our brief history lesson. But before that, let's get into my ever so brief disclaimer. Despite having help with this video, some information may still be incorrect. As always, feel free to correct me in the comments below if I get something wrong. Chances are, I'll either highlight your comment or address any mistakes in a pinned comment. I also want to thank Yari for helping out a great deal with this video. He's the true National Guard LARPer, and his input was invaluable. Anyway. Rosguardia is the direct successor to the Soviet and Russian MVD internal troops. Formed on April 5th, 2016, it was intended to improve the efficiency and eliminate overlapping responsibilities. Its official missions include border security, firearm regulation, counterterrorism, combating organized crime, maintaining public order, and protecting critical state infrastructure. In practice, especially since the war in Ukraine, its role has expanded considerably. Rosguardia has taken on occupation duties, rear area security, counterinsurgency operations, and even frontline support. It has suffered notable losses in high-intensity combat, and following the Wagner Mutiny, has further militarized, receiving heavier weapons including tanks and artillery. As of 2024 to 2026, Rosguardia is estimated to number around 370,000 personnel. In February 2026, Putin formally established a decreed general staff within the organization, further enhancing its operational planning, intelligence capability, and command autonomy while reinforcing its role as a loyal, heavily militarized internal security force. Rosguardia has made numerous appearances throughout the war, most notably at Gostomel and in Kursk. It has also been active in Kharkiv, Donetsk, and Luhansk. For the purposes of this guide, however, I won't be covering the Black Saviors or the multicam-clad troops of Gostomel. That topic is for another day. So without further delay, let's get into the guide. We'll mainly be focusing on the more specialized centers near the front, such as the 604th Special Purpose Center and various operational brigades, rather than the general National Guard units across Russia. You might be wondering or asking why, or even what Rosguardia personnel are doing so close to the front line in the first place. Beyond rear area security and blocking duties, these specialized units often conduct FPV drone operations, mortar support, and ATGM work, with the occasional offensive actions. And to answer the why, because I know you're not doing defensive LARP. These are often the first Rosguardia elements to respond in active combat zones, so with that out of the way, let's begin. And as always, we'll be starting from the top, going down to the bottom. The most common helmet, of course, is the MPP class Tour series in either OD or black, usually in the mid-cut or full ear protection variant, with the occasional older gen high cut being seen. These are usually paired with the issued counterweights and covers in moss, though OD and multicam covers do appear from time to time. Aftermarket cover options are also seen, including scrim covers and generic fast style covers. Black colored helmets are typically reserved for internally focused units like Sober and Oman teams, but they do make the occasional appearance at the front. Rosguardia, much like the old MVD, is not exactly swimming in cash, so full standardization is rarely seen. While specialized personnel are better equipped than the average, their budgets are still limited. As a result, OD Tour Ls continue to be the best and most commonly seen helmets at the front, even sometimes fitted with an EMR cover, as they are the lowest in cost. While the BR1 Tour is by far the most common, the BR2 rated model, the Tour 2, with its distinctive polycarbonate visor, is seen as well, mainly with sober teams and specialized sapper units. Before anyone brings up the ZSH series, yes, they're still around, though very, very rare, and they're typically seen with their moss, EMR, or no cover at all. Moving on to ArmorCom helmets, the LZH1 Plus low cut in OD or black is another issued option. usually paired with multicam covers or no cover at all. These have become increasingly rare as the Tor helmets have become more widespread, though they still do appear. Recent examples have been documented in Kursk, and interestingly, most guard units in Crimea still seem to favor the OD variant. Curiously, the ATAX FG LSDH cover seems to appear on almost every other helmet rather than the LSDH itself. Next is the SCAT S1. While good photographic evidence is scarce, it has been issued to a select few Moscow Oman units, so it's safe to assume that at least a few are still in use or made their way to the specialized centers. Finally, among the last issued helmets from Armorcon, there's the 6P47. While the standard EMR cover is occasionally seen, most users opt for aftermarket MOS, ATAX FG, or multicam covers. Some wear it without a cover altogether, like the LSDH. However, the 6P47 has largely fallen out of favor in frontline Rose Guardia service since 2023. It is now most often seen on rear line units, along with other outdated helmets like the NPP class ZSH-09. And wrapping back around on the topic of scarce photographic evidence, Ford Technologies RSP 1.9 helmets have been seen in training, competition, and in field use, specifically with special purpose centers personnel, sometimes also seen alongside the Fort Centron vest. And, of course, no discussion of issued helmets would ever be complete without mentioning the ever-present Chinese Mitch clones and generic high-cut helmets. Where would we be without them? Now onto privately purchased helmets. The most Gucci option I've seen is the Atlas MK0 and MK2, typically in OD or black, usually paired with the Atlas cover in MOS or multicam, though aftermarket covers or bare helmets are also seen. Beyond that, there are plenty of generic high cuts in OD, KO brown, and black. Some feature more unique shrouds, while others use standard hardware. Identifying the exact brands can be difficult, as many share similar designs and features. A more unusual option is the Protection Group Denmark Arch helmet. A few have appeared in Rose Guardia service. While some were likely imported before the sanctions, others may well be captured Ukrainian examples that were subsequently reissued. And yes, captured equipment absolutely does get reissued, whether people like to admit it or not. That wraps it up for helmets. As for accessories, just about anything goes. Counterweights, scrim, helmet lights, and miscellaneous aftermarket add-ons are all fair game. And if you really want to lean into the Rose Guardia aesthetic, feel free to absolutely plaster your kit with St. George ribbons. And patches. They love those things. Now moving down to body armor. This is where Rose Guardia really starts to shine, especially in terms of affordability for impression builders. The most commonly issued carrier is the MPP class Tactica, usually in moss or black. The newer Gen 4 version is mostly frequently seen, though older variants still appear. This carrier is a signature piece of special purpose center kits, and often seen with specialized units within operational brigades. You can find a Repro base vest on AliExpress for around $90. While replicas are based on the Gen 3 version, it's relatively easy to modify one by adding an extra row of Velcro to mimic the newer version, but the fabric quality is a bit mediocre. And while some people love to sneer at reproductions, the reality is that not everyone has the budget or the connections to source original gear from Russia. Keep in mind, a real Tactica will probably run you upwards of $1,500. Other issue carriers do appear, including the MPP class Topaz and OD, as well as older options like MPO-SM's Module Monolith in genuine multicam, or the 7BVV, and even older generation 6B45s. These are much more niche choices, however, and generally are not recommended for post-2024 impressions. If you're aiming for an earlier 2022 to 2023 setup, they become more viable. Yari's personal recommendation for a kit would be privately purchased carriers. Rose Guardia personnel, like most internal security forces, tend to gravitate towards more affordable options. If a soldier isn't issued a Tactica, or even in some cases if they are, they often turn to brands like Spazen, better known as SSO. Panzer carriers are especially common, even among higher tier units. I've seen a wide range of variants, including the Panzer 1, 2, and more recently the Panzer 3. These are typically found in OD or ATAX FG, though multicam versions do occasionally appear. Another surprisingly common brand is Stitch Profi. While many know them for their polymer magazine pouches, their carriers are nothing new in Rose Guardia service. The newer Stitch Defense Mod 4 is the most frequently observed model, though older designs still appear, especially in regional units, like this man with a Mod 1. Our Caribit's Kibando Cortez is another standout. Most examples I've seen are in OD, though ATAX FG and multicam variants also are seen. Wartech is also another brand that is well represented, particularly the TV110, usually in OD and occasionally in ATAX FG. If it was this easy to find reference for them, man, I would already have a video out. Better paid personnel are also occasionally seen in Gearcraft products, mainly the Autumn Universal and extended in multicam and ATAX FG. Then of course there's the Aras Arma. Most commonly they're A20, A24, and CVC Mod 2, usually in ATAX FG. Also it. MSC also appears from time to time, especially their MBS carrier, typically in multicam or ATAX FG. And yes, there are plenty of Chinese-made carriers mixed in as well. AVS copies from brands like Emerson, Sunso, and the usual variety of generic 1694 clones are seen from time to time. As for belts and pouches, the same rules apply. Use wherever it fits the look. ATAX FG, OD, and multicam are all perfectly acceptable. Brands matter far less here than overall consistency. Generally, on a belt you'll see some magazine and grenade storage, and some kind of dump pouch, and some kind of IFAK. Now, before we get into this next section, I want to make it clear, I do not know weapons. Do not expect this from me ever again. This is all done by Yari. I give my deepest sorrow to Rosin for not harassing you instead. He did this by himself. Maybe one day we'll collab. And also we'll bring in Just Guns. I really want to do something with him. When it comes to weapons, the typical issued rifle is the AK-200 with the occasional sightings of the carbine length AK-205. Unfortunately, there is no airsoft version short of some 3D printed kits, so your best bet would be a 74M. Tuning varies significantly, with rifles seen in completely stock to fully built out with parts from the usual domestic manufacturers like Zenico and Tactical Ideas, and some from foreign ones like Fab Defense. Common optics are the issued DL DK9 Red Dot or a variety of hollow suns. Pistols are almost only ever seen with special purpose units, think Sober or 604th. The newly adopted, I'm not going to try to pronounce this correctly, MPL, the Garach, and various generations of the Glock 17 are what you will see. Specialized weapons like the PKM, PKP, VSS, and various DMRs can be seen in use with operational brigades and special purpose units. Now onto clothing, which means we're finally at the end. As you expect, ATAX FG absolutely dominates. The most common you'll see is the Bars M1 Sunbrack in ATAX FG, which is an issued uniform. This also includes old and new issued Rose Guardia uniforms made by BTK Group. Outside of those, non-issued ones, you'll see everything from generic G3 style copies to brands like Sturmer, Spazen, Voin, and 545 designs, appearing regularly alongside countless off-brand options. Multicam is also seen, though far less frequently. When it does appear, it's usually in some form of G3 clone, Voin uniform, or some similar commercial offerings. If you're building a Rose Guardia impression, however, multicam really shouldn't be your first choice. There's also the occasional outliers such as Estiletto, Brezga, or other patterns, typically from Bars or Spazen. And if you really want to get obscure, there's always the elusive Triada set, which was issued initially to the 604th Vityaz, and now various silver units. That about wraps it up for Rose Guardia kit. I'm sure I missed a few things, but considering I wrote much of this while battering Lyme disease, I think I did alright. Each section took a day or two, or whenever I wasn't completely wiped out. I hope you found this guide helpful or at least entertaining. Hopefully I haven't completely ruined Rose Guardia kit for everyone. Until next time, I hope you all are having a great week, and as always, I'll see you next time.